let me introduce myself. I'm Tanya Balal. I am studying bachelor's. I'm in my final semester at Srishti Institute of Art, Design and Technology. Hoping to graduate soon. So yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, hi, I'm Saurabh Tiwari from Bhopal. Yeah, I mean, just here for the curiosity. Like, I'm not an SCI researcher, but trying to learn things here.
Great. Welcome, Saurabh. We hope you have a good time. We hope you get your curiosity is satisfied, or at least you get more curious and join us for our further sessions.
Dr. Javed Sheikh, I'm here for my students, and because in my country there is a fasting, so they are all sleeping. So I'm just here for them. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then, I guess let's kickstart. So welcome, guys. In this third online session series, we will be talking about how to do qualitative research and coding analysis. In the last two sessions, we covered how to write and read an HCI research paper. Moving on to the third week, the recorded videos have been. Check out the previous two sessions there. Student chapter. So yeah, once a topic is decided for research, then comes a need of a methodology, a procedure for conducting your research in order to move forward. So we are assuming that you have chosen your topic, but it's completely okay if you don't have a topic in mind. Hence, in today's session, we will understand how to conduct this sort of qualitative research and coding analysis by Rahat. Thank you, Rahat, for volunteering your time for others as well. And I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the others as well. Just a few things to keep in mind before we start off. We request everyone to go on mute when the other person is talking. You can always post your questions in the chat box, or you can ask them probably towards the end of our session. Also, we've started this Google group for mailing purpose, and we already have a Slack channel for more than emails. So the links for that will be shared on the chat interface by Shreya. So I'd like to introduce Rahat right now. Rahat Jahangir Rony, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes, it's okay.
Works as a research assistant of Dr. Nova Ahmed, Associate Professor, ECE Department, North-South University, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Recently, he joined as a research assistant at BRAC University, Dhaka, Bangladesh from January 2020. He has nearly 3 years of research experience in HCI systems and sensors. He has worked on a Google research project supervised by Dr. Nithya Sambasivan.
This is Rahat Jahangir from Bangladesh, and I completed my BSc from North-South University and working as a research assistant of Dr. Nova Ahmed. I am doing HCI research with her for last 3 years, but my personal, I completed my degree in electrical engineering. So I have diversities in my all kind of things. Even my final year thesis program was in organic photovoltaics. So never mind, but I love HCI. That is why I'm here. So let's start. Oh, this is me because I do not have a webcam. So if you don't know me, so just know me by face, and I'm here. So today I will talk about these areas. Some description of qualitative research, and then methods of qualitative study that we actually follow, and lastly in the coding analysis. And if I have much time, then I will talk about research challenges, or otherwise I will just skip it. So let's start. Let's start with the qualitative research. So I think most of you already know about the research types. I mean, qualitative and quantitative research. So mainly quantitative research focuses more on the survey topics, studies, or the big data sets, numbers, and all kind of stuff. But qualitative research is completely opposite, which actually deals with the, I mean, description type studies. So qualitative research is basically to understanding the human or the participant in a particular concept. For example, I'm going to study regarding privacy. So I would like to understand the perceptions, activities, or the behavior of the participants briefly through this study. And I'm just saying that it's a description type study. So it's specifically more conversational study between the researchers and the participants. And the data we actually gather from this kind of, I mean, from qualitative study, that is not, that data are non-numerical data. So that is why I'm saying it is a more conversational study. And we actually try to understand any particular phenomenon through this research, like how the phenomenon has happened and why this phenomenon has happened. So that is that these things are actually the key facts of the qualitative research. So I have put a example here. This is the form of the qualitative data, so we can understand that how it looked like, because here I'm just add a conversation of I mean an economist. She just said her perception regarding women, I mean job sectoring women. So this is a kind of perception, like a comments or like a description. So our form of the qualitative data is like this. So let's take this example in the next page. So I just color code in two different colors here. I mean orange and blue, because to understand the general information and the keynote information. So here the general information that we have get from these comments is the history of the, I mean, labor force for women. But the keynote information is most of the women are engaged in low paid jobs. So I should emphasize more on this keynote information, because I want to know why and how women are in this position. So through this observation, I just got some findings from that particular source. So I just put the few key points here in the, I think you just see the 4 key points here. So these are the findings. I mean, these are the forms of the findings from the qualitative study, because I just put the question how and why women are in this position. Then I got the answer from my study, like there is not daycare centers in the workplace, or nuclear families, or lack of safety. So these are the findings from our qualitative study. But by the way, this is not my research property. I just use it as an example from the source conversation. So I just put the reference here. So I think you understand the type of, or the data type of the qualitative study here. So next, the study methods that we actually follow. So according to, I mean, the Dengen and Lincoln, they just said there are many types of, many ways of qualitative research, many ways of the methods or the qualitative research or something, something like that. Or as he said, you can do analysis of numerous materials, might be a way out, or you can do cultural records or something like that. So there are many methods, and there is no particular methods, because the methods completely depends on researchers how they want to deal with deal with the research. So it's completely depend on us. Sorry, I just, because I'm in Ramadan, so I can't drink much water. So yeah.
No worries.
Sorry for that. So I will talk about my about our research methods in the following slides, but I just attached some methods name from the wiki, so you can see that in the details from the wiki. But I don't even explore all these things, but maybe we are following the most simplest version of the methods. So and these are also challenging, and our methods are mostly generalized, and maximum researchers actually follow these methods. So what are our methods? So let's see. From the beginning, we followed focus group discussion, and then one-to-one conversation, and recently we started participant observation. So what is focus group? So focus group is the conversation among a small group or a large group of the participants. And participant observation means, observing a participant or a group of participants without interfering their activities. So I have to sit silently with them. So that is participant observation. And one-to-one conversation is a conversation with a single participant with multiple researchers. There might have 2 or 3 researchers with a single participant. So that is one-to-one conversation, is more like, but it can be either physical or virtual. And we can do also virtual focus group discussion in our research methods. So that is not a big deal. So let's see some example from us. So these are the examples from our studies, and I just blurred this picture because of the research ethics. So here actually are 2 different groups, small and large groups. So the left one was the small group with the teens, and it was both physical and virtual meeting, because there was one researcher in front of them and other one was joined via Skype. And this kind of, the small focus group is naturally standard because we get more time to discuss. And sometimes we cannot maintain the small focus group, and based on situation we have to form the large groups. So the next picture is the big group with 11 female participants. So this kind of, in a big focus group, sometimes discussion is more challenging. So let's talk about the challenges and the positive things and negative things of the focus group discussion. So the positive thing is, in a focus group discussion, participants can share their stories from their comfort zone, actually, because they all are coming from the same community, and we can discuss in depth. But sometimes they use they just use some of their words that we do not understand. Like, for example, in a few months earlier, we worked with the garments workers, and basically the garments workers work in 2 different types of garments, like non-compliant and compliant garments. So non-compliant garments are actually the garments who actually not follow the global standards. So the workers do not know the terms, the non-compliant terms. So they just mention that we are working in a Bangla garments. So we just like, what is Bangla garments? Then gradually we understand that they are mentioning the non-compliant garments. So that is how we get their voices through the through focus group study. And there are few drawbacks, like in focus group, some participants shared the same stories again and again. So that is a major problem. And few users, few participants will remain silent by passing the questions, like in a, suppose I am sharing my perception that I face problem in my garments. But the next participant is like, yes, my experience is same like her. But maybe there are maybe there are changes or differences in her experiences, but sometimes she just pass, or the participant just pass the question like, yes, I'm agreeing with him or something like that. So this is another problem. And more researchers are needed in the big focus group, because in this picture you have seen 11 participants are there, and we were 5 researchers in front of them. So more researchers are needed, but in the small group there was just one researcher who was present in their houses. So that is the problem. And another big fact is the time, because in I was talking 90 minutes with the small groups and even the big, I mean with the big groups, but technically I went more in depth in the small group because I get more time with the only with 3%, but I get less time with the big focus group. So that is why maybe I do not get the stories from all of the women or all the participants. So that is the fact. So that is why small focus group is more standard and preferable. So try to, so who are just, I mean, who have the intention to do focus group study, so just make sure that you have to have small focus group. Otherwise you will get not all kind of stories. So this is one-on-one discussion and participant observation. So one-on-one discussion is the discussion with the single user, and that's it, and all things are same. But in this case we actually go in depth with the participant, and we have scopes to understand the participant for the long time. But it is not always, I mean, it is not always okay that participant will feel comfortable in this position, because he or she will be alone with the researcher. So sometimes they just stop their conversation. But we found that uh, the participants are more open in our studies. And in one-on-one conversation you have to reach out more, because through focus group you will get 3% at a time, but in one-on-one conversation you just get only 1%. So you have to work more in the one-on-one discussion. But recently we actually focused on one-on-one discussion more, because we can validate the relevant data. Even I mean, we can validate the data within the community, because suppose I am telling like I face problem in my locality, so it might not be true to the other person. So that is how we can vary. But in the focus group discussion, maybe the answers can go biased with the community. So that is why we actually focused on one-on-one discussion. And the second thing is second thing on this page is observational study. So this is, as I said, this is the study without interfering the participants' activity. For example, you are sitting in a mobile research shop for 2 hours and observe the people in the stall and some of their activities. So you just can note down the all activities silently. So that is how you can observe the participants. So in this picture, actually, a few months earlier we did it in a garments. I mean, we went to a garments in their annual picnic days, where 11,000 garments workers were joined. So it was very nice, and we enjoyed the dances, biryanis, and all other things. Even the garments owner gifted 3 lakh taka to the performing workers. So that we just understood that there are some garments and there are some workers who are actually fine in their, I mean, their lifestyle is very good than other garments workers. So that is how we can validate our all kind of findings. So as I discussed the three methods that we actually follow, but the participant observation is very new to us. So maybe we will conduct some of these participant observation in the later I mean, some other days. So let's see how we get this. And wow, back in 2017. So I do not blur this picture because it was one-on-one conversation with the driver, because I worked with the driver for many years, and we were actually sitting in the road. I think you can see the picture. So and he was actually crying that time during the discussion, because and was saying like, no one come to us. You guys are working for us. So do something, please. So he was crying, I mean, for 5 to 10 minutes during the discussion. So sometimes emotion evolves during the discussion, because there are some stories which actually do not people do not like to share. Even if people some get some platform that I can share my voices, so maybe emotion can come. So yes, I faced this 3 times. I faced this 3 times actually, because I have talked with around 40 drivers. So this was one of my nice experience in my research journey. So never mind. So to deal with the qualitative study, first of all, we focused on participant recruitment, because we have to work with the participant. But how we get them, but how we recruit them. So there are few challenges, but normally we go for close connections, communicators, and formal setup. So for example, you want to talk with the teens. So I mean, teens, but you are just adults. So how can you reach to the teens? So just contact through your younger brothers, sisters, cousins, friends, whatever you have. I mean, try to explore your close connections who are who are studying in the schools or the colleges or something like that. And the communicators means you do not have access to the community, so try to connect a person who has very good connections with the community, so that he can manages all the participants by his own. Even we already communicated with few communicators for our studies, because we do not have all kind of accesses. And the last thing is formal setups. Suppose you want to talk with some known faces, so you can just email them or message them, so they might be talk with you or something like that. Or even close connection can be work on this stage. But there are few challenges to get the participants and to reach out, because um, sometimes the community is the problem. And once I can share one of my experience. Like once we wanted to study the LGBTQ community, but we couldn't reach out. We couldn't reach out to them, and even we couldn't get any communicators who have the best connections with that community. So we just skipped that. We just skip that part. And ensuring comfort zone and places for discussion is another thing, because you have to sit somewhere to talk with the participants. So it cannot be a good, it cannot be a place where which is public, because you have to discuss more confidential things. And so it can be in some what can I say, uh, some quiet places, or someone's houses. Like as you see, this is the house of the garments workers, and this was the house of a teen's um, sister. So we just went to this place, where the participant can share their voice and they can feel comfort. So this is the thing. And definitely you have to have research ethics, that you have to sign the consent form of the participants, from the participants, that the participants can stop the discussion at any time if he or she can feel uncomfortable, because this is the right for the participants, because I am working with her. so they have the full I mean freedom to stop the discussion at any time. So these are some challenges, but we did not face anything severe this time. So these are the participant recruitment things. And next is interview. So definitely we have to ask some questions. So there are two types of patterns, so structured and unstructured, but we actually follow the semi-structured. So the question is why we actually follow the semi-structured. So we actually need some information which is straightforward, like where is your office? But these are more like quantitative data and structure interview, and the session will be very quick. Like I just know that his office is in Dhaka, so I do not want to know anything than that. So that is why I'm talking it structured interview. The problem is in the structured interview is there is no follow-up questions, because this is more straightforward. On the other hand, unstructured questions are not close-ended and not prepared, where we can ask the questions based on the answers of the users of the scenarios, like what kind of answer we get, and then we just ask the question based on the scenarios of the participants or something like that. So through this we can go, through unstructured interview, we can go in depth understanding, but the understanding is so I can go to the example first. So in the example you can see for unstructured interview, when you go to your office. So this is more like a structured interview, but the rest of the questions, how you go to your office and how you get the transport, do you face any problems, or just explain your incident in the bus counter. So these actually portray the total scenario of going to the offices. So that is how I can get the full picture of his days. So so that is why I was talking like we are following semi-structured interview, because we have some questions that are straightforward. So from that are coming from the structured interview, and rest of the questions are unstructured based on the findings. So that is why this is a semi-structured interview. So there might be some other questions, but I just put them as an example here. So that is how we can deal with the interviews. Then the main key points is data transcription, because it depends on researchers, and if you miss anything important from your transcription, then it will be your intellectual loss. So what we actually do, we actually do these three things simultaneously. Instant notes and audio video record or something like that, but we focus more on audio records, because video record is it takes a lot of space in the disk. So audio record is fine, and some participants do not like to be in the video recorded, so audio recorded is more safe. And during our session, one researcher was taking notes, and another was just conducting the interviews. And we also and in 30 minutes, in 30 minutes of discussion session, there is a lot of information. So you have to have some, you have to write some bullet points in your notebooks during the discussion, because that will track you to find the keynote informations. And the video record will help you to transcribe the user's voice, particularly on such points. So that is how we can reduce the chances of missing information. So all things are recorded in the hello.
Yes, Rahat.
Yeah. Okay. So
we can hear you.
Hello. Oh, okay. I think I am audible. So Yes. So I was talking about the audio record. So it is actually why we actually do audio record, because it is nearly impossible to write all things during the discussion, because in a 30 minutes or 50 minutes, even half an hour session, uh, you have a lot of information. And and thing is, what I personally do, I just listen all the audio records and write down the uh, I write down their transcription. I mean, write down the all kind of findings. So the only way is for better transcription is to listen the record. I mean, to listen the audio record again and again. But there are some challenges, like sometimes so many voices at a time. I mean, some participants started to talk by them, and they just start discussing between them. So we can't avoid anything, definitely, because during their discussion there might have some important notes. So uh, so we just listen. The way out is you just have to listen the record again and again several times. And and one single thing is, do not do transcription with the help of someone else who actually not present in the study, because otherwise uh, you will miss some information. Only researchers knows what kind of things we actually get in the discussion. So that is why I do not appreciate that you have to outsource data transcription to someone else, or some other person can do it for you. I don't trust this, but because I do all these things by my own. And sometimes it takes 3 to 4 hours for transcription. For I mean, for me it takes 3 to 4 hours for the transcription. And I can say my maximum transcription size was 8,000 words. So you can understand how much things were there. So this is the data transcription. I think I covered the basic things of the qualitative research, because these are the basic things we have to follow during conducting a qualitative study and the data transcription. Then we have to analyze our findings. So coding analysis is the thing that we will follow during our analysis. So let's start with the coding analysis. So yeah, so this is the figure of coding analysis. And naturally, the coding analysis named as thematic analysis, which is actually divided in two different types: inductive content analysis and deductive content analysis. So these figure, I just took this figure from research papers, so for the better understanding, because I think they just give a concrete idea in a single picture. Because you can see there is two portion. I mean, open coding for inductive analysis, open coding, coding sheets, grouping, categorization, and abstraction. And for deductive analysis, some methods are same as inductive approaches, but here the common thing is we actually reach to the final goal with the same, I mean, with two different approaches. So let's start with the coding analysis. But before that, there are some coding analysis tools: Atlas, TI, NVivo, and so on. But most these softwares are actually paid version. And maybe Atlas TI have online free version, but I do not use any of these things, because I personally do my coding in my page or in my PC. So I do not follow this. So you can, sometimes these tools are very I mean, very friendly to the young researchers, because you can color code all these things. So you can try it. So let's start with inductive content analysis. So inductive content analysis is I can say it, you are independent to analyze your content without any boundaries, because through this analysis we actually make or try to bring new themes. I mean, uh, we have the intention to make something new. So that is why we actually go through all our findings and code all these things. So let's go to the example that then you can understand easily. But yes, coding means headings. So it is not like the code in the program. It's just the heading. So this is the standard form of saying. So that is why I just say codes. So let's go to the example. In this paragraph, this is actually collected paragraph. I'm not using one of my research properties because all are confidential. So I put some colors here so you can understand the information what the each line says. So I try to understand what kind of information I get from here. So first line is actually talk about the empowerment, and second line is talk about the lack of facilities or hidden rules or something like that. And the third line is talking about the childcare problem or something like that. So this is the paragraph which actually deals so many perceptions, so many things at a time. So these all so all these three things are codes. So I just made three codes from this paragraph. And when I just gathered this, so that is called actually the coding sheets. I mean, gathering all kind of codes in a single sheet is called uh, coding sheets. So then there comes grouping. So grouping means you have to separate the similar codes in a single. I mean, you have to separate the similar codes, and then you can put higher order. Higher order. You can name it with a higher order coding or something like that. So that is called grouping. And categorization is following. I mean, to describe the phenomenon as a whole. So let's go to the example again. So I take this example in the next sheet. So my coding list was empowerment and social barrier, um, lack of childcare and child caring problem during the job. So these things are codes, and then I make groups. So I just put 2 and 3 in a childcare group, and number 1 is in empowerment group, and then I make these whole things as a group. So that is why you actually code your findings through the process. I mean, through following these processes. So I think it's easy, and once you have done this, it will more easy. So but this is not the end. There are something. There is abstraction, because abstraction is actually the abstract of your all codes. So this figure actually shows that how we deal with many categories. It is not necessary that you only have 10 to 15 codes. In a brief discussion, you definitely have more than more than hundreds of codes at a time. So you have to make them grouping, then categories. There might have some subcategories, and then you have to narrow down your categories with the generic category, and then come to the main point, because we have to tell all single things in a paper, or when we just write the paper, we cannot describe all such codes in our paper. So we have to mention it in a category. Like I will discuss challenges of a women in my paper. So there we can discuss all your coding analysis. So that is why abstraction is very important here. And then that before abstraction, the process is same for deductive analysis, but deductive analysis is it's it's quite different from the inductive analysis, because deductive is actually the following an existing theory, because here we do not care about, we do not make new themes or something like that. We just follow some existing theories. So maybe I try to prove or argue with the theory, or I just focus only those findings who are actually related to the existing theory. So I do not, so in this case, I do not think rest of the findings that we have already done in the coding, that we have already done, and I do not even waste my time to focusing on my all findings. Like here, I'm not doing open coding. I will follow some straightforward coding. For example, you can see this picture, like there is a theory and you can make a hypothesis, then observation, and then you can come to the confirmation or rejection. Like suppose there is a theory like coronavirus spreads through China, through snitching in China. So I make a hypothesis like coronavirus spreads through snitching in Dhaka. In the same process, this is my hypothesis. But in the findings, I found that uh, coronavirus actually not spread in Dhaka through snitching, maybe to feed the contaminated person. So I just use it as an example, So just take it as a finding. So the theory actually, a theory or hypothesis is not justified in Dhaka. So in this case, I just look at the coronavirus session. Suppose we are doing a conversation and there are a lot of stuffs, and coronavirus session is one of these things. So I just look at coronavirus session, and more specifically the parts how it spreads, and the rest of the process are similar. Rest of the process are similar to inductive analysis. So yeah. So I have lot of findings, but I just focus only to coronavirus, and that, so I deduct all my other findings. That is why it is called deductive content analysis. And and if you say like, how can I come to the goal or something like that? So when you have the content only for coronavirus, then you can code all this. You can code the coronavirus session, and then you can make groups, then you can come to the categories or abstraction. The process is similar to the rest of the process is similar to the inductive analysis. So this is actually the coding analysis, the basics of coding analysis. And we actually follow all this all this procedure, but in our studies still we do not try to um, we do not try to prove or argue with any other theories, but we always try to come up with new theories or new frameworks that can be used in deductive content analysis in our studies. And I will recommend you people to follow these professors Virginia Brown and Victoria Clark, and they have a paper on qualitative research and thematic analysis. So, and this paper is so important that
Rahat, I think we have
try
lost.
to read it as a whole. Yeah. So, and I will share this information with the Pranjal, and maybe I think I cover most of the things. Most of the basic things, because there, as Pranjal said, there are some. Here some researchers who actually want to do research. Want to do qualitative research. So that is why I just try to put my put my understanding on qualitative research and coding analysis in a basic format. I think this helps. So do I have time, Pranjal? Hello.
Yeah. You
Hello.
could, yeah, we have good 10 more minutes. 12.
Oh, okay. So I can discuss few of our research challenges. Maybe I have 10 minutes. So as a developing nation, so there are few challenges like policy and the research permission, funding, and fancy research is a challenge here. So let's see. So I put this picture only because when we did experiment on the road, police caught us 3 times. So that was actually not the issue. The issue was um, the police was asking like, did you have the permission from the government or police station, because this was a I mean, this was the experiment in our roads. So this was a real experiment, not in the simulators. So definitely we need some permissions for that. And sometimes they are asking like, do you have the permissions from your authority or the institution or something like that. So, and I can also share one of my experience. Like one of our team had a project on flash flood, and they wanted to install some sensors at our bridge. I mean, bridge over the rivers or something like that. And the supervisors moved several ministries several times, but there was no permission. So, and the recent experience is, we just have a recent experience. We had done a research, very good research with the permission. I mean, we had the permission from the institution, but we didn't have signed copy, and which was actually in the processing. And we submitted a journal and come up with some good reviews, and the reviewer committee required the IRB number, I mean, institutional review board document number. So because they don't want to publish the paper without ethical permission, because humans are involved here. So permissions are definitely important, because there might have some I mean, some bad things during the experiment. So we have to take our responsibilities, but sometimes getting permission is a very long process. And and this is so complex. I mean, I think this is so complex in developing nations. So that is why we sometimes just don't care of this. I mean, I just don't care to take the permission, just go for the studies. But I appreciate all the researchers that we must have uh, I mean, legal permissions from any authorities to do qualitative research. So this is one thing. Second thing is funding. This is actually the most disappointing thing, but most of our research are self-funded, and there are so many complexities in getting funds from government here, and even from private sectors, the fundings are limited. So for the lack of findings, it is very difficult to run a big research project here, and also to support the researchers. So but we still try to um, get funding from different source. But I think develop and fancy research is a challenge here. So before telling about that, I can mention one of my experience. I had a conversation with a professor, and I was telling like, we were working for low-cost technologies and our low-income communities, but Western people do not like this. They just go for their, why you just do not use the expensive, I mean, wearables and fancy wearables or something like that. So he just replied that we are looking for novelties, not the cost of the system we develop. So we are not thinking the lower income communities. So maybe this is their perspective, because there is in their community, maybe there is no low income community. And the other thing is, I have put some of my uh, gadgets that I have experienced. So first one is Qualcomm XR glass, which is I just geared it on last year, and it was so amazing that uh, when I just geared up, I was seeing, I am standing in a balcony on the top of the mountain, and I see the Mount Everest in front of me, and the sound effect was mind blowing. So these these things actually made by Qualcomm, but maybe we can develop these kind of things, because we do not have some kind of support. And the thing is, who actually use this uh, Qualcomm glass? I mean, this is more expensive than you can buy. Even I can't afford this thing. Maybe it is more than $2,000. So our low income community never buy these things. And the second thing is eSense. This is not just a headphone. This is also can measure your physiological, I mean, you can get your physiological data from this earphone. So this is also expensive, and what I guess it is more expensive than Apple AirPods, because it has some other specifications. So we also can develop this finished product. So what we can develop is the third thing. So that we actually developed by our resources or something like that. And we actually focus for minimum specification at a very low cost. And I can tell that the build quality and the functions are relatively less here, but we focus on our low income communities in our regions. So that is why fancy research may be in the challenge. And we actually, as I have seen that our experience, that we are more into we are doing research more into mobile technologies or something like that. So but still we are doing research, because I got a motivation from my scholar that she was said, we have thousands of research papers each year, but how many papers make impact in our society? Maybe 1% or less than 1%. So I can say I worked for drivers for more than 2 years, but still I couldn't provide them anything. So maybe my research for them is not impactful yet. So so we have to do something for them, but I don't know when and how I can provide something to them, because every year still we have 6,000 people died in the road, and the drivers are suffering every day. So but my research is not still impactful. And on the other hand, in Asian region, there live 2 billion people. So we have so many problems which are still untouched. So as a researcher of this area, this is our duty to come up with our problems in the global platform, because I do not think that researchers from the Western countries will come to our region and deal with our problems. My vision is, as a researcher, we will talk and we will discuss our problems to the global community. So we together can work for our people, for our social problems, for our marginal communities, for our social justice, and for definitely emerging technologies for social good. And maybe I think that is how we can do impactful research. I mean, either in qualitative or quantitative or anything. So thanks and take care.
Great. Thank you so much, Rahat.
Yes,
Pranjal,
thank you.
Pranjal, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so this was super useful. And the last part which you shared with us and openly telling about, even if you're working from the last 2 years, the impact is still not there. And that is, and I think we'll want to bring in later, I think, Anupriya as well, to share her experience in this regard, what I have listened to from her. And this could be also shared by most of the other people as well. But this is a very wonderful presentation. Thank you, Rahat. So we have a lot of questions for you today, and I think you have covered those. You have already covered those, but we will run through them again. Shreya, would you love to go ahead, or should I speak those?
I have seen lot of messages here.
Don't worry, Rahat. We will speak those questions for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Shreya?
Yes.
Or should I go ahead? Or yeah. Fine. Okay. The first question is from Farzan Zafreen. How did you choose the factories? Was it randomized or did you use any other method?
Sorry, hello?
In the beginning of the presentation, you had certain images, I think. So I think somebody had a question regarding that. How did you choose
Okay.
those factories? Was it randomized or did you choose any other method?
I mean, randomized for what? I mean, for selecting participants or?
It was my question. You mentioned that there were two factories. One was complying with the standardized, standardized method of the it was standard, and the other one wasn't. So my question was, how did you choose these two factories? Did you
Oh, okay. I mean, you were asking about the workers of the garments, right?
Yeah, it wasn't about the workers actually. First, you have to choose the factory, right? Then you can choose.
No. We just in this case we actually communicate with the communicators. I mean, local communicators with the. I mean, they are actually the communicators are the house owners or the area manager or something like that. So they actually for this case we actually communicated with the house owner of the workers. So he talk to the workers in his houses who actually live there, and the workers who who actually wanted to talk with us, so they just gathered together. So
Okay.
we do not yes, we do not separate the compliant and non-compliant workers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And the next question is from Ahmed Jaina. His question is, how do you decide which qualitative method best suits your research?
Oh, okay. So I have discussed three different methods: focus group, one-on-one, and participant observation. But it depends actually how can you do it, because we wanted to do one-on-one conversation with the garments workers. I mean, the group, there was a big group as you have seen, but the garments workers do not like to talk individually. They just wanted to talk with us as a group, and we also wanted to make a small group, but they have time problems. I mean, they only have a day to as their weekend, so we have to do, and we have to do this study at a time. So we just utilize our time with this small, I mean, with the big groups. But as the question, how we can, I mean, how we jump into the methods. So it actually depends on the situation. If we get the participants, or if we have time constraints, then we can go to the focus group. But if we have much time, then we first approach for the one-on-one discussion. And if it is possible, then we do it. But if not, then we can go for the focus group. But participant observation, we did it very recently because we wanted to see the situation of the garments workers. So we just went to their garments. But so this is our first observational study. Maybe we will do something later. And during this lockdown session, I mean, this lockdown period, we also do one-on-one discussion in the phone. So in this time we cannot do focus group discussion. So so yes, so we can, it based on the situation. I mean, the methods actually based on the situation.
Hello everyone. Hello Rahat. First of all,
Hello.
A wonderful presentation. I'm Anupriya, and I would just like to add on to what you just said, that yes, the constraints of our participants, availability of time, literacy of our participants,
yes,
affect how we choose or what methods we choose. But apart from that, in addition to that, what I believe is the research question which we are investigating, that question derives the method which we are going to use, and also the nature of subject which we are investigating. For example, I work on taboo health topics, and in those cases, I think focus group is not a good option because people will not be comfortable in sharing their intimate experiences. So in that situation, we go with one-on-one interviews, whether it is taking 52 one-on-one interviews lasting 1 hour each. that is time taking, challenging as a researcher when you have to transcribe and translate the data, but that's how it is.
Yes,
And
you are also right that sometimes research question is make difference in the methods, because we sometimes have some discussion regarding women health problem. So
right,
they do not want to share something like that in front of others. So
right.
yeah,
And
so that is
also
another good point. Yes.
right, and like you just mentioned, it also depends upon the comfort and availability of your
Yes.
participants. So most of the time what we think of and plan of and go in field with, it's not going to work because your participants won't be available, or there would be some urgent emergency situation. So we as a researcher have to be very prepared of our second method right away and adapt to the given situation. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we have another question. So Kohli from Bangladesh is asking, how even before recruiting participants, we need to go through some institutional review board. And his question is that how is this done in Bangladesh or maybe in developing countries?
For the permission, I mean, for institutional review board, first of all, you have to, because most of the things actually done by my supervisor, but I'm more, I mean, I'm less integrated with the IRB process. But as I know that, first of all, we have to discuss our research objective to the, I mean, the institutional board review and what we want to cover through the research. So they just analyze all these things, and if they find something, I mean, something different, they can query with us and they can discuss with us. And through the process, we get the, I mean, we just get the legal documents to as a, I mean, for the research, for doing this research. And for participant recruitment, I mean, I think is she talking about how we do the participant recruitment or something like that?
Yeah, I think our question is regarding the process of participant recruitment.
Process of participant recruitment is first actually we explore our close connections. Like suppose I am a researcher and I have a lot of friends. So if I want to talk to I mean the female participants, maybe I will explore my female friends to talk. I mean, I will try to describe my research objective that I want to talk to your friends. So please gather your um, female friends to talk with us. And even so, this is actually the close connections. And sometimes we want to talk to about the older people. So we will look our personal connections, I mean personal relatives, or to the friends relatives. Sometimes we avoid our family members because it might get biased maybe. So that is why we explore to the friends, colleagues initially. And then if we cannot manage these things, then we I mean, as I said, I try to find out some communicators who actually have the community access. Like I do not get people from LGBTQ community, because these people do not come to talk to us. So I have to find someone who is actually have the full access with the LGBTQ community. So
Right.
That is how actually we try to recruit participants. Even I was talking about the teens participants. So through this process, we actually went to the, I mean, some teachers, tuition teachers, coaching teachers. So we talked to them, and we talked about our research objectives to them. Then he was talking with his, I mean, students. That, like, there are some researchers, they will talk to you about some of your activities. So do you want to join? So then some of the teens were, yes, we can join. So that is how we can recruit.
Right. Another question that's coming up in the audience.
Rahat, would you mind if I add something to what you
Yes,
have
yes,
said?
definitely, because I'm just sharing my perception. So you are.
So the thing is that when you said no, how do you recruit? So there is this whole idea of mediators, and why mediators? So different format. Mediators are important because they mediate between a community which is very different from you in terms of their social outlook, culture, education, and whatever, and you. So between these two, there is somebody who understands you as well as the community and translates between you and them. And the second thing which you said, that we should avoid talking to our family members, etc. So
Yeah.
here I would like to add that there are two perspectives of doing user research or qualitative kind of research. One is emic and the other is etic. That is looking things from outside and looking things from inside. So if you're careful enough regarding, like your own perception biases, you should actually do emic research. This is so important because, for example, I come from a rural part of North India. So what the perspectives which I bring, nobody else is going to bring. And the third thing is, I think in qualitative research, one can be a little relaxed, and one cannot be a very, hard
Yeah.
fixed about reliability and validity, because qualitative research per se is not trying to prove something. We are trying to unearth new equation, new ways of looking at things. So yeah, this is three things which I wanted to add to what you have said.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well put. 3 points that kind of sums up all the doubts. Another question that's coming
I
up
have a
in
question.
the
Sorry.
audience is that um, uh, does the participant require some kind of incentives? And a follow-up question to that is, if they do receive incentives, wouldn't the biases increase?
We so biasness can come at any point. Maybe like there are some if you want to know something about about negative experience, so maybe I have to put some open-ended questions to him and try to bring the negative experiences from the uh, participants. But in the incentive case, I don't think incentive can increase the biasness, because this is because the participant actually waste their quality time with us, so we have to provide something to them. But biasness, we do not get biasness in our findings, but sometimes we thought like the participants actually try to share their similar, I mean, similar experiences all the time. Like, as I said, in the focus group discussion, some participants, like, they do not want to express themselves. They just they just want to tell, like, yes, I always face problems in my workplace, I always do these things, but they do not give us any hit to us or something like that. So sometimes they just stuck into the loop. But as a researcher, you have to make something difference in the discussion, because you have to know the other other aspects of the life. So this is not, I mean, these things actually depends on the researchers, how you can get your data. So if you want to know only the negative experiences data or positive experiences data, or the data you want to actually focus, so then it might get biased anytime. But if you are very open to understand the complete scenario of the participant and the behavior or the activities, if there is any chance of bias, researchers can divert it to the different ways. So I think, yeah, I think incentives doesn't make any biasness, maybe.
Yeah. Can I take one question? Can I have some question? Shreya?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Ronnie. Thanks a lot for a very clear presentation.
Thank you.
Like, I think the one of the things which I wanted to ask was about gender. I think you have already addressed that. And also, Devanuj has also explained the role about the gatekeeper and the snowballing. And now you also talked about bias. I wanted to understand like how you handle the idea of power or the concept of power, especially like in the case where you explain about the garment workers. So I think the research can change. Like if you choose your participants in a very different way. I mean, of course, the selection or the sampling of the participants, you have addressed that also. So how do you address that? Like, for example, if you talk to, let's say, a garment owner, or not necessarily a garment owner, but like a senior garment worker who
Hello?
has been very loyal.
Hello?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
so,
yes, please.
yes. How do you think that things are going to change if you talk to a senior garment worker who has been working in that particular organization for very long, or a new person, maybe
Yeah.
a daily worker? So how do you address the idea of power or the hierarchy within that, especially in the SCR research? I'm curious to know.
Oh, okay. So as I mentioned, my research on garment workers, because in our focus group, there was actually the women who have the similar experiences in working in the garments. But in the particular focus group, we had senior women who actually had around 12 years of working in the garments. So she was telling like she had faced a lot of phases throughout the working in the garments, but the the, the women who actually very new, or 2 to 3 years in their in their the the scenario, or the scenario in the garments are very not as bad as she mentioned. I mean, the senior worker mentioned, because she actually faced a lot of phases. But in this case, it is difficult that in the same group, if you have diversity of the participants. So that is why we try to find try to get the answers more from the new, the common participants from the common experience, who the workers who have the experiences in a common years. So we try to understand try to bring out their findings mainly, and avoid the senior ones. And we also had separate discussion with her, but actually there was nothing different, but the experiences were the findings were similar, but the senior one can share more experiences from hard job hard jobs life. So and sometimes in the participants, we actually focus the similar uh, we do not put different participants in a single group. So we try to put similar participants in a group. So yeah, so that is how we get the relevant data. Avoid the illogical or the irrelevant data. So yeah, I think I can answer, but I didn't hear your question fully, but yeah, I think you just wanted to know that.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly the same, but it's okay.
Because hello.
Yeah. I can understand there's some issue in the line here in the internet connection.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, maybe I yes, My headphone is not working perfectly for last.
Right, Ronnie. I'm typing there in the chat box.
Oh, okay.
So the follow-up question is again on the incentive bias, which Anupriya has raised, that we are giving incentive for the participation, not answering any specific answer. So it just isn't it? So then how are we adding any bias by giving incentive? So that is still open-ended. We do not really know. But if someone wants to debate on that giving incentive bias the answer, could speak, or we could move on, or we want to take more time on this question.
So that is how I interpreted the question. That's my interpretation when someone asked the question, like incentives could add to bias. So that's how I viewed that question. My interpretation could be completely biased. So if anyone can, because we give incentives to participants for the time they are investing, right? And sometimes we don't. Like, I have not been using incentive, and I have been asking my participants shamelessly to invest like 1.5 hour each for my study, and they were willing to do that given maybe the topic was of their interest. So that's the only thing. I was just curious to know how would giving an incentive bring in that kind of bias, because at the end we are the researcher, and we can always have inclusion exclusion criteria set for us. So even if the participant shows interest in participating in a study, then we do have that agency to take a decision that, okay, to include that participant in the study or not. So I was just curious if anybody can.
I'm Nova. Yes, I'm Nova. I work with Rahat. Hello. So I want to answer this question if you don't mind. So
Yeah, sure,
we have been doing, we are poor researchers from Bangladesh without much funding. So we worked without incentive for a long time, and it worked fine for most of the studies we were doing. We worked mostly with women, and when we are talking about different woman-centric issues, many of the issues are so interesting that, we never had, limitation of participants. But later, when we worked with Google, we got some funding there, and they said we can use it any way we want to. We can use it for incentives, we can give them gifts, or we can just treat them with good food. All those type of options we had. It was all up to us to decide. So depending on the community, we changed it. Because when I met with young colleagues, because it was about how women are using technology. So when I asked garment workers to visit me because they have only 1 day break over the weekend. It's only Friday they get a break. All the extra 6 days they have to work. And that's their day to finish all their work and all the household chores and everything. So when I'm taking significant amount from that day, I wanted to incentivize it. When it was poorer community, I thought maybe they can use that money for something. Not to bias, they did not join knowing that I will give them money. But later, after the study was done, we talked. When they said yes, we talked about what will be the incentive, and we talked about it. And end of the study, we had this. We said we will have gift, but they did not know what type of gift or what. So we felt good to see the smile on their face, good to see that, okay, they felt it's not wasted time, things like that. But when it was like other communities, we preferred to give them stationaries or gifts because we did not want it to be a source of earning money as a study. But this is how we did it. But in many cases, it happens that we don't have significant money set it out. But we try to give some sort of token of appreciation. It can be a book, it can be a pen, it can be a diary. And sometimes we see the participants really appreciate that token of appreciation. And other than that, I have my sister, she lives in US, and she's just finished her master's. And she said she joins every study for that monetary incentive, like $5, $20 gift card, free coffee. it made me crazy to see she participates in any random study that has money in it. So so that's a different side. Like that was probably from quantitative data, like she participates in lots of surveys and this and that. So I didn't know, like it really attracts people, especially in the West. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experience, Noah. It was great hearing you.
Yes, thank you, Noah. And I will proceed to the next question. Sasha asks, would you recommend any online tools for data transcription?
Atlas TI have, I mean, they have online version, but they recently published it. But I think she can use it for the data transcription. But for the paid version, you can just buy it. I mean, it will cost maybe $800 to $1,000 for 1 year or something like that. But Atlas TI is very good, and maybe Atlas TI have the crack version. I mean, Atlas TI 7 have the crack version in the torrent. So
there's TiVo also, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So Atlas
hello.
TI is good.
So if somebody wants a free version, that is called Weft QDA. I'll write the name on
Yeah.
on chat, and it is from one of the Western universities. So it is a very simple one. You only have, I think, Linux and Windows version. So you may, it's a very rudimentary simple, but it does the job. One may try that.
I think somebody in the chat had also recommended Otter.ai. What do you think of that tool?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. So what was the question?
Somebody had also recommended Otter.ai as a tool for transcriptions.
Oh, okay.
Otto, in that case, is also a new good tool. My suggestion on that would be, when we are doing transcription, if we could do by ourselves rather than relying on the machine.
Right.
Because we go back to that coding again and analyze why that person is saying. So we could, but yes, in the future we could use machine, but initially we should do by ourselves.
Yes.
So most of the time I actually follow the printed copy of the transcription. So that actually helps because I can read read the transcription throughout it, and it actually tried to help me in a sense that anytime my coding can be changed. Like I was thinking like this was talking about the empowerment of the women, but maybe it is not. So I can retranscript it. So that is why I personally do not use any software or anything. I started with Atlas TI once, but then I just skipped it, and I'm very comfortable with the printed version of the transcription. And sometimes I do it on the doc file, Word. So yeah.
Yes, a laborious process indeed, but it is very rewarding.
The simple way to do it in the Microsoft Word is you put comments.
Yes,
and but it becomes tedious in some time, but yes, simple. Or use Excel sheet. Okay.
So next question we have from Shalaka, and they're asking if regarding coding, how do you color code when one sentence has multiple codes? So then how do you do the color coding for that?
So this is not necessary to do color coding. So what you can do, you just write separate codings in a single line. I mean, this line, suppose this line talking about the empowerment of the women and the problems of the women and the problems in the job sector for the women. So you can just write several code at the single line. So it is not necessary to, I mean, highlight the lines with the different colors. So you can just write the codes.
Right.
You can write actually the multiple codes. So yeah.
Yeah, like same sentence could have multiple meanings, and it's okay to acknowledge that. Next question we have from Saurabh. You're saying that he is curious particularly about the power in the QR process, how the hierarchy within the participants can influence the study. This is one of the things working with other factors like gender, bias, context, and subjectivity.
So yes,
I think he has answered.
Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes the hierarchy, I mean, if senior ones or any senior person um, who actually present in the focus group, sometimes the data can um, data you will get is more friendly or flowery. Suppose in the focus group, you're just doing in the focus group in a garments factory by inside on a garments factory. So the workers will never share their, I mean, negative experiences. So the picture will be more flowery. So that is why it is not wise to uh, put all, I mean, this is wise to put the participants in a separate zone and try to bring comfort zone completely, bring comfort zone and safe zone for the participants. So because you have to know their full experiences, full stories or activities, and you have to understand their behaviors. So try to bring the participants from the same community, from the same places.
Yeah.
And sometimes most of the participants are acquaintances each other, so that also helps to share their experiences.
Right. Thank you for your answer. I'll just ask the last question. That is from report the findings. I mean, what are some of the ways to report of your research findings?
Sorry, hello.
The question is by Malay. The question is, what are some of the ways to report your findings?
Code the findings. I mean, the ways of the code. I mean, coding the findings or something like that.
So can I elaborate question?
Yeah, please.
Yes, that's
so my question is in two parts. First question is how does one, so you talked about how to code, when to code and what to code, but my question is about how does one ensure that a code is good? I mean, is there such a thing that there is a good code and a bad code? And second part of the question is, once we have done the coding, how do we translate those codes into findings? So second question pertains towards the articulation of findings, and first question pertains to the method, I mean, the quality of codes, basically.
So the so your basic question is what, I mean, the is my code is good or bad? So I do not think code there is something like good codes or bad codes, because it depends on you. So what you understand through your findings. So when you just code your I mean the code your findings or the transcription, definitely there are some other researchers who actually moderate all these things. And it is not always true that only based on your findings or your codings you can write a research paper, because there are several you have to have supervisors or you have to have co-researchers. So they also moderate your codings, and you can do codings by discussion. I mean, you can sit together and then go through the transcription, and then you can write the coding. So there is nothing about good code or bad code. And which code actually you use for the findings, it depends on the scenario, because what you want to show to the, I mean, what you want to present in your paper, and what is the keynote findings from your I mean from your discussion. So and from the I mean scholarly articles and other literature activities, so you have to find something you have to come up with some differences from the existing researches. So so that is how you can shape your findings. So I think you can get the answer. So
A follow-up question. If
Yeah.
so, regarding so there has been some discussion about how the quality of qualitative research itself. So and it boils down to how a person is articulating their findings. It depends on domain to domain, I agree, but do you have any readings or any recommendations that one should go through before writing a qualitative research specifically addressing to articulation issue?
So before doing, I recommend a paper already. I have already showed it in in my slide. From you can go through the Professor Virginia Brown's research paper, so you can
Yes,
understand. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, I have gone through them.
Okay.
About thematic analysis and how to
Yes.
Do thematic, how to identify themes and strategies to find that. But they don't talk about what they don't talk about is how to articulate those findings in an in-depth manner.
Okay.
I wanted some pointers on that.
So so to articulate your findings in in-depth manner, so how can you do that? So basically, I personally think what I do, I just read my findings several times. And just make sure what is my goal. So what I want to prove, what I want to show in my research paper or something like that. So then what I do is I try to find the difference in my findings, and also read the top-notch researchers' papers in the particular field. Like I'm working in the privacy and security, so who are the researchers in particular field? The top researchers in the particular field, and then um, if they have any work in my region or my community, so I have to find them, and then I read through all the findings and try to articulate my findings in different ways. But if there is similarities, then yes, there are possibilities that there are more similarities with the existing researchers, but you have to go through some process. Like the best way is to read a lot of research papers at a time, because through this you can make your new dimensions of findings. So yeah,
Right.
what I do, I just say. So yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you can discuss with some others. Here some other professors, so maybe they can give you good suggestions on this.
In this,
So yeah.
Devanuj or Sayan.
Yes, well, Professor Sayan is there and Professor Devanuj is here, so maybe they have the more experience. Definitely they have more experiences than me. So
But don't assume that. Do not assume that.
I should not be assuming that way, right?
No, you of course you have.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Malay has asked a very important question. Might be I'm not a very prolific qualitative researcher, so maybe Anupriya or someone can point out to that. Even Professor Nova is here. So I think it's mostly important that you need to have good research questions and you need to articulate your results towards that, right? So of course maybe there should be different methods into that, but mostly you need to go back and forth to your research questions and back to again to see that what you have got, right, Malay?
But I know that there is no specific way to learn articulation as such. It's only by practice, and the business of qualitative research is at the core. I believe it is in the art of articulation. So what I think is instead of and some people also say that good articulation comes from good understanding, and good understanding relates to having good codes. That's why I was trying to associate, is there any relation? I mean, can my articulation improve if I have good codes? Or um, uh,
Yeah,
so Malak, can I answer your question?
yeah.
Yes, sure.
So thing is that when you talk about articulation, the whole business is about communicating to the other person who is sitting there. And communicating in a comprehensive manner, right?
Right.
Hello. So thing is that whatever may be quality of your code, let us let us keep that question aside for a while. The other thing is, now when you have developed your codes and you are trying to make a big picture out of what you have done. Now then, anything you are saying in that paper has to fit into that structure or architecture of the paper. And in that if you are putting codes, or you are trying to explain a phenomena, that has to be a well integrated way. And I would suggest that if you want to improve your articulation, you should be involved in reading literature a little bit, because when it comes to qualitative data, there is a little art of writing as well, which makes the difference. The way you try somebody else understand, and in a manner which is easy for that person to comprehend. Acha, theek hai, this is the larger picture, this is the sub picture, this is the sub picture kind of thing. Am I right, or do I need to add anything else?
Yeah, sort of. So this, I would like to end this. Probably, I mean, there will be other questions as well, and we need to end the session as well. But my last question, or the larger gripe of my understanding, is that if we look at papers from humanities or sociology that deal with development sectors, or
Right.
and if we look at HCI 4D papers,
Right.
I mean, the difference is visible. How do I and those papers are so
Okay.
easy to read, so so smooth. I don't know how to present
Okay.
it. So
Of course you can do that. You have to read Steve Pinker's articles. Steve Pinker from
Steven Pinker, yes.
Steven
Sense of
Pinker.
style.
So, no, not just style, but it is all about usability of communication. So the thing is, that the social science people, their main crux is, their main focus is on communicating complex ideas. Social science is embedded in. So whereas if you see human-computer interaction, it is such a multidisciplinary field, and people are trying to come on a common platform. Of course, there are many people in human-computer interaction who come from social science background, but not everybody. So maybe because of that happens. But at the same time, to architect a building of ideas, a building of concepts, I think that can be learned by just looking at how the craft of language works. And Steve Pinker would help there, surely.
Thank you. That I would look into that. Thanks, Devanuj.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ayan.
And yes, and there is no alternative of reading newspaper. I mean, reading a lot of research papers. So for HCI papers, yes, there is an art of writing, because only for I can say only for the presentation you get rejected from the conferences, even if you have good ideas. So writing is another issue. And in the last session, Professor Devanuj have discussed how to read the research papers or something. So I think yes, reading is really helps.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rahat, for taking my question.
Yeah. Thanks.
I think we should end, but probably Kohli, do you want your point to be taken by Devanuj again, or you would love to take your point to him privately in a separate email?
Pointed out.
Sorry, we lost you, I think.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Your
I
voice is
think
very
she could
muffled.
type
Yeah.
Yeah.
very.
Or I could speak, yes. So Devan, the point which you mentioned on the mediator thing. So she's asking if you are using a mediator to reach participants, won't there be a chance for a certain population to be included in the study based on the selection or bias of the
So
mediator?
that I answered on the chat itself. So there would be chance, but I'm saying look at the basic difference between qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is to see broad patterns, to see what broad patterns could be there. We cannot be too strict about qualitative research. That is one thing. The second thing is she gave an example. For example, there could be bias in terms of recruitment, bias in terms of. So there are two things. First thing is you have to learn by heart. You have to really know this fact that power is something which works everywhere. So if you neglect power, you would not see many things. Now when you're aware of this fact, then you can say what is happening. That person says, and then you're looking, what kind of people is bringing him in a particular point. So then once you are aware, you will look what is happening, and then you can try to rectify key. Okay, can I get some of those? No sir, that will happen, that will happen. So that is how you have to modulate. The second thing is qualitative is more about getting involved with people. Qualitative research is not like a disconnected kind of research. I come to you as a transaction. It's not a uh, transactional affair. I come and collect data, comment. Qualitative is to get into depth, and that is why you should be good at social communication as a qualitative researcher. So for social communication, I would only suggest you get involved with life, get involved with people, talk to people. Only then you will get to know what the person is telling, what he may mean, what he's not telling. So social communication is a good quality to have for a qualitative researcher, and that is how you can minimize the skewing sampling or biases. But at the same time, you cannot be too rigorous about it, otherwise you will lose many things. This is my take on it. Many researchers would differ with me.
So thank you. We shall close the Q&A session and move on to the next session from now. So now only 24 participants are left, and there is a very important point we want to all make now for the next thing. Tanya, would you love to proceed further and what we're thinking for the next sessions to do?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you all for joining us. Till now, we've covered 3 things, which is how to write a paper, how to read a paper, and today we covered how to do qualitative research. So moving on, here's like sort of a rough plan. 1 being CHI Clinic, 2, how to do literature review, 3, how to use tools such as Zotero, Overleaf, etc., and 4, understanding the quantitative methods. The first point that I want to raise is CHI Clinic. So next week we were thinking to start our first CHI Clinic. We will have CHI Clinics like sort of once a month. So the idea behind CHI 2021 or 2022 clinics is to give mentorship or like prepare early career researchers to publish in CHI 21 or 22. It's not fixed. It's not like strictly fixed to publish in CHI. It can also be open to other venues, other conferences. We think through these, these clinics, students could present their initial idea or research topic in like say 15 minutes, and then the rest could provide feedback, from mentors and peers. This is also to open up opportunities for collaboration. The attempt would be to bring mentors who could give feedback to the presenters in a comprehensive way. This way, we could also build, like sort of like a virtual lab where we collaborate and support each other in projects. So we would love to, hear your views, hear your thoughts on this. If you are interested in presenting your project, pitching it, and seeing, if someone's interested in your project, then they can come on board with you. You yourself can, get some feedback on your thoughts. So yeah, if someone has any ideas, the floor is all yours. Otherwise, if you want to just type it down, you can always do that as well, just on the chat box. We'd love to hear from everyone.
Yeah, I just like to add something is, yeah, we are telling it is a CHI clinic. It could be CHI and CSCW and ICTD. So
yeah,
all, I mean, people are working on or going towards. So I think the most important thing is, as I mentioned in my first lecture, is we need to first write the paper. I mean, that's the most important thing, and you can understand your idea what is going on, and then you can go for experiment or kind of qualitative research. What I personally believe. So what that point is, we always do what we finish the interviews, we finish everything, and we try to find out. We are always trying to find out. When I was a PhD student, also I did that. We try to find out what actual meaning is of the results. I mean, what do it mean? I mean, why I did this. So instead of that, I always encourage people to write it first. What is your thinking? What do you want to achieve? And based on that, I think as all the, Anupriya or even Devanu sir, Rahat, Nova ma'am. So everyone was talking about, we were talking about, how they achieve those results. So because of, if you have a clear research question in your mind, and it's not being done, cannot be done in one day or just 1 week. So you need to read a lot of papers. You need to first idealize what actually you want to, bring it in. And then you read papers and try to find out the exact, very specific problem. And then you start working on it. Of course, many people have had this kind of problems that, at the mid of your research, you find the same papers have already been published or even just published. So that is a very unfortunate thing. So, but we need to try in that way. And I think, Anupriya can give this point because she just, before starting the meeting, she was saying, if she's here, I'm not sure. So, Anupriya, are you here?
Yes, I'm
okay.
here.
So she can say to you, like, she took 4 years to publish her first CHI paper. So she can tell you about, how these things can measure. So, Anupriya, do you think that this kind of clinics could work, or at least help researchers? And what is your take on that? Yeah.
I think yes, because so I have been submitting to CHI since my first year in PhD, and I have had rejection after rejection after rejection. But I would say at the same time, the reviews I got from my CHI reviewers helped me immensely to, strengthen my paper and submit them in the better venues. So one of my paper was then published in PLOS. The other paper, we worked on the reviews and submitted to Transactions of CHI, and it was published there. So rejection is also good in a way, but it's part and parcel of the PhD journey. But at the same time, there are times you get pulled down because you have put so much effort and heart into the paper, and then you see that it's not getting the home you have wished for. But yeah, it honestly speaking, it took me 4 years. Like I was having a conversation with you before the session. It was a rocky journey, and it's just one paper in the CHI, and still we submitted 2, and one was accepted and another was rejected, like anything. So yes, so it requires a lot of hard work, and writing is a skill. So we had a lot of conversation around, how to articulate our findings and how to present the qualitative data. And that's something which I have learned a hard way, that, you have to learn that art of narrating your work. It's just not about conducting good research. It is also about presenting your research to the audience who are going to read your paper, because your reviewers might not be familiar with the context you have been working in. They are coming up with their own understanding and own worldview. So how are you going to communicate the language bias or for in my case, it's the gender binaries which are very prevalent in India. So for them to understand that was a challenge. Like, why you are talking about male and female? Why you are talking about boys and girls? Why you are talking about men and women? What about the other genders? So communicating that aspect, that's how the Indian society is predominantly, and that's why when I'm conducting research around gender in this context, I have to use that terminology to get the data, because people will not be comfortable enough to talk to me if I tap into the dimension which is a taboo. So those are challenging areas, and I think we all can share our experience, because everybody have their own set of experience around writing and submitting and getting rejections, be it CHI, CSEW, YCTD, or any other venue. So yes, it would be really helpful.
Yeah, one important thing actually I think everyone can learn from what we talked about. So I mean, it's not that if you're writing for CHI is just you submit and you get accepted. So it's a high chance you get it rejected, but you can know, I mean, if you submit to CHI, if you aim for a higher venue, definitely your paper will get polished in a much better way. So that's the most important thing. So you'll definitely get a very good review how to polish your paper further. So as she was mentioning, so she was always trying to, of course she had a lot of hard working, I mean, that time, but when she submitted, she got a very, I mean, constructive reviews, right? So she always, I mean, updated that. So that's why we want to focus for CHI or CSEW or this top tier venues, ICTD, because of, I mean, you will get very good reviews so that you can understand where you are at currently and how to improve it. And of course, in HCI, writing, specifically in qualitative HCI, writing is very important. On your abstract introduction and conclusions. I think these are the most important things, sections in your paper. So yeah, I mean, CHI clinics or CSEW clinics and this kind of clinics would help you towards that, I think. If anyone wants to say something, yeah.
Hi, Sayan. This is Ahmed.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, this type of CHI clinic will definitely be helpful. But first, I would like to know from Pranjal, Tanya, and all those who are organizing this, what is the general demography or of the participants, those who are attending this? Because I believe similar initiatives like CHI Clinic may be really nice for PhD students, researchers, HCI researchers, but if the larger part of the audience is for, say, UG or PG students, are they looking for submitting to CHI, or will they be interested to participate? I don't have any idea about that. So I think we need to look at the larger audience or the larger participant, because I see today there were 60 plus. So how many are actively looking for writing a paper? If there are just 5 us, yeah. So first we need to understand from the basic fundamental from that point, not just look at the end product. Yeah. Is the participant really looking for it? Yeah. So
I mean, just one thing is, I'm just telling, I mean, as a paper writing perspective, but of course it could be kind of a, you know, if you've done some work, or if you're planning to do some kind of your master thesis or your bachelor thesis, and you want to showcase something, so that could be other venues. I mean, not only the paper, I mean, the full paper track or something. So you could have some interactivity, you could have a short paper. So we can at least try to present this in that venue. So that was my thought. Of course, maybe Tanya or Pranjal can give a more thought on that. So thanks for the question. Yeah, Pranjal, over to you.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Ahmed. And this is what has been also the dilemma for us to internally think, and for me personally, whether investing this much of time would help the community or not. So I broadly is thinking from two perspectives. The community which are just want to be designer, or want to get into industry, or they want to get inside into research, but they do not know whether they should go for CHI or CSEW. These are very overwhelming words and very overwhelming conferences. So there are two set of audience which we are catering through these webinars, I believe. People who are curious to know what is research, how to write a research paper, and another set of, and this CHI clinic is very focused to those who know or have an idea and are willing to take the journey of writing a paper. They have already figured it out, something in their head, So out of 4 sessions, so for example, if everything goes well in this idealistic world, um, it's a third week. And the fourth week, we are thinking not to do the sessions where someone is giving us some, or we are learning from others. Whether in that 4 weeks, 1 week is allotted for the Kai clinic. For example, 2 to 3 presentation. It could be their master's project. They are thinking to convert that into a research paper. We really also do not know whether this will work out or not, and how many people would be willing coming forward and putting up their to showcase the project. Or what we can also do, we could send you a form to everyone and ask, and that will also give us a bigger picture. For now, we have around 215 people who have signed up with us for these online sessions, and it's not to cater to the majority. If minority of the people, for example, 10, 20 people are also looking forward to them, and that is an attempt for the find a mentor, find an SCI mentor. So this will also help the mentor-mentee relationship to grow. But we really do not know how will this work in this world. But yeah, we could do a polling thing. So I think if no one has other points, so there are a couple of 2 to 3 more announcements for us to do. Or anyone wants to add this point on Kai Clinic? I think a couple of people in the chat want this, are okay with this kind of session. And so yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. So we have our fourth online session. It's going to be called How to Do Literature Review. Dr. Javed Anjum Sheikh has volunteered to take this session. He is a professor teaching at University of Sialkot, Pakistan. We would like to invite Dr. Sheikh to introduce himself.
Hi. This is really wonderful, and I'm really enjoying. Particularly the Kai one. I'm actually I present not. I'm looking for the date. Is there any particular date for me next Sunday or after next Sunday?
Yeah, if we go ahead with the Kai Clinic, the next to next Sunday we will do it. In June.
I love to go for Kai Clinic. I prefer for. I think we should have Kai Clinic. Even there is a very less attendance. The reason is because it is not easy, right, for that kind of conferences. So I think the people who are already involved, and particularly I think the lady, I think he went. She wrote many time and then he rejected, and then he's still struggling for them, and finally he got accepted. So I think that would be nice if we have this kind of sessions. So I will go for after that, so it's no problem. And I don't know what would like to introduce myself. I did my PhD in Middlesex University, London, and then I came back in my country, and then I started working somewhere, and I just actually I don't know how can I get. I think I found this link on one of the HCI group, and then suddenly I started to teach MS students, and then they say, okay, sir, go for there and find something for us. So one of my students was present last week, but this time I think there is a fasting in my area, so everybody is tired. So if you have any question, I'm ready to answer it, but I don't know how to introduce myself. Sorry.
No, thank you very much, Professor. It's lovely to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, post that, we have a couple of sessions. It could be on how to use tools such as Zotero, Overleaf. If somebody wants to volunteer to take such a session, then please do get in touch with us. Another session, Anik Saha from Bangladesh has volunteered to take a session on how to do qualitative code in atlas.ti, which is a qualitative analysis. So we're looking forward to that as well. As Pranjal mentioned, there is a find an HCI mentor. So there is a link that we have added on the chat group. So it would be great if you want to find a mentor, if you want to be a mentor yourself, then it would be great if you could put your name in that document. Pranjal, anything else that I've left out?
No, so this is great. And if Amit, as you mentioned earlier, so we have Raj and Amit in our community. Raj very specifically work on AR and VR. If somebody is working on it, or you could pass on this work. Raj would be willing to help you or help anyone in AR, VR related stuff. And Amit could help anyone in data visualization. So that's all for today. We have again exceeded what we told, but yes, today we will be ending, I think, 5:35 or 5:40 maximum.
Yeah, Pranjal, one thing is just for the next Kai clinic, might be you can gather some 1 or 2%, one or two, sorry, 1 or 2%, intention that who wants to do it Kai. So that would be really nice if you have some kind of people already to know that what kind of work they'll be having. So, we can read through beforehand and then we can plan accordingly, how to talk. So usually, definitely it would be one-to-one discussions, but of course everyone will join. So let's see how it goes, because it could be, because it's remote. So, maybe it would be possible that if anyone give, their document, 1 page, what they want to do 1 day before the clinic, and then everyone could read it down, and then if they have questions and they have discussion points to be how to improve on how to write that down, that would be really nice. We should be well prepared before talking to that person and his research, his or her research. So that would be nice that if they can submit it 1 day before, and then we can read through it. So could be some kind of protocol that could be maintained for the Kai clinics.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anyone wants to add something, please add. Some kind of protocol, how to do that. But I think that would be easier to understand. If we just come and listen, might be it's difficult to give any comment.
If anyone has any ideas, they can always reach out to us, email us.